I'm Michael Cera. I play Hank in Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. Hank is a dog, and he's a very good dog. And he dreams of being helpful, really, and his big dream is to be a samurai. And he doesn't really have any qualifications, but that's been his dream ever since he was a young puppy, and a samurai came to his rescue, and he idolizes and reveres samurais and wants to be among them. Jimbo, played by Samuel L. Jackson, is sort of just over it, and he doesn't care to help the town. He's really kind of wallowing in his later years, and he's embittered, and he's just given up on what it means to be a samurai. So when Hank comes along, Hank ends up kind of sparking something in Jimbo that's been dead for a long time, and they help each other in that way. So there is sort of a teacher-student dynamic, but they're also kind of tough on each other like brothers, where Jimbo sort of doesn't sugarcoat anything. It doesn't make anything easy for Hank. Ika Chu is like a classic villain played perfectly by Ricky Gervais, who is just completely transparent in how self-serving and feckless and completely without morals he is. Emiko, who's a young cat in the village, basically has a quality of total fearlessness that no other character in the movie really has. It's the thing that makes her the most qualified to be an actual samurai. She puts the safety of others above her own self. I think we got an amazing cast in this movie, and yeah, as I started learning about who was going to be doing the movie, it just got more and more exciting to me. I mean, I was fortunate enough to have one recording session with Samuel L. Jackson, you know, before the whole world shut down and people were not recording in the same room together for a long time. But yeah, that was a pleasure getting to work with him and meet him. Getting to record with Samuel L. Jackson was fascinating and very exciting and entertaining. I love the way he works. I mean, he's just been doing it for so long. He's just like a total ninja at it. You know, he just can get something, get right to the heart of a thing so fast and knows exactly how to do it. And he's just such a professional. It's incredible to watch. It's a person who's just knows what they're doing so inside out that they're in total control seemingly at every moment. It was impressive. Kakamucho is a town of cats, and they're in need of help, but they're not going to just accept anyone's help, and the last person who they want help from is a dog. It's a town that has prejudices against dogs. They hate dogs. There's no dogs allowed in this town. So when Hank rolls in, it's the last person they want to see, and they don't give him a very warm welcome. I can't wait to see this movie in a theater, especially with a bunch of kids. I mean, that's the thing I really can't wait for, especially my niece and nephew, who are like the perfect age for it. I mean, it's going to be so much fun, not only because of what a shared experience it will be and how funny it is and how sweet it'll be to see this movie with this beautiful message in a room full of people, but it's also, yeah, it's just so immersive, the world, and so expansive, and it just takes you to another place, which is what you want when you go see a movie in the theater, is just be transported somewhere. So I really can't wait for that. The Physical Ride is just a fun adventure movie with a lot of laughs. I think that's going to be the basic shared experience of an audience watching this movie. Is it's going to be a great time. And yeah, the takeaway I think is a happy, emotional takeaway, because you just feel like, you know, we all need to just celebrate and support each other and, you know, and embrace each other.
I play Jimbo, who's an experienced older samurai who has fallen from grace and is actually the fastest sword in the world. Animation, you can do a lot of things, you know, and I guess my samurai moment, I guess, would be me using a lightsaber in Star Wars. It is a closed society, represented by the fact that the majority, all of them are cats, and there's an outsider who's trying to become one of them. I mean, it's physically impossible for him to be one of them, but there's always a way that you can embrace the qualities and values of another group of individuals and become part of the whole in that way. Pretty wacky and pretty wild and a lot of fun visually. I like what all the characters look like. It's a very exotic world. I'm sure I'm sure people who love cats, I mean, that's such a huge cat army online. I'm sure people that love cats are gonna, go gaga over this thing. It's kind of like, figuring out that there are no differences, that all we got to do is figure out a way to live. And if everybody treats everybody the way they want to be treated, we pretty much got it going. You either feel for Hank while he's there trying to achieve his goal, and you see a person that has a, pardon the pun, dogged determination to do what he's trying to do, and you feel for him, and there are cats that are on his side or that are willing to help him and are kindly, and it just works in a way that allows you to see these animals living in this particular world upright in a way that we don't normally see them, but accepting that they are who they are and they're a mirror of what our world is and how we can become better people by understanding what this story is about and how we reject or accept people in a certain way.
He's very close to me. That's the truth. He's very Brooksian. He's very, if it were, it's kind of a Brooklyn Shogun. I mean, he is definitely, he's very much like Marlon Brando. He's tough. He's very aggressive. He could kill people, and yet he likes kittens. He's good-natured, and you never know which side of him is going to pop up. That's why I love the character. It's a town, certainly people buy felines, buy cats, all kinds of crazy cats. And who comes in to save their bacon? Who is a samurai? A dog. So it's an amazing, to win them over takes a lot, but he does it. He does it. When you do live action, you're aware, you're worried about, is the right side? I mean, am I moving too much? Are they saying, but your voice it's so simple. It's half the problem. You just make noise, and some of the noise is good, and some of the noise is terrible, and let the editor decide what works and what doesn't. So you do it 5 times, 5 different ways, and usually one of them is right. It's about friendship. It's about love. It's about the town caring about somebody who's so atypical, such a stranger. And it works. I mean, the feelings work.
If he has any kind of intelligence, it's completely subservient to his boss. He is the boss's underling, despite the fact of his physical dominant presence. It brings people together. It's animated, and the animation, incidentally, is very cleverly done. And it's pure satire. It's preposterous good fun, and a very entertaining way to teach an important lesson. As you get to know and recognize the difference, and that difference brings strength, that by working together, cats and dogs together, they're even more successful than they would have been fighting each other. The thing about movies and storytelling is it has woven into it some lessons to help you make it through this thing called life. It's to give you that lesson in an engaging, entertaining way, in a hilarious way, and to see the human frailties, the inability to trust each other as ridiculous, which is comedy. Comedy tonight. It's a wonderful, over-the-top, hilarious movie. It's preposterous, and that's what makes it so such a great trip.
Michael's Cera naturally brings a kind of an insecure charm to his performance. His voice, his particular hesitations, his, little bit of a hollow, higher register to his voice is vulnerable and naturally funny. Samuel Jackson playing Jimbo he brings a sly gravitas to his performance and with his voice. His voice is very deep, but you can tell when he's, having one over on you, or, he's got a sort of a wry cadence to his voice that, is just undeniably Samuel Jackson. Ricky Gervais, the incomparable. It's an interesting thing because he has the ability to sort of have this nasally kind of whine to his voice that completely suits a kind of a supercilious and narcissistic villain, which he plays so incredibly well. And what is so interesting is because I feel like I'm so used to him playing that kind of a character and being somewhat insufferable and unkind and all of these things, is that he is the nicest person. He is just an easygoing, charming, friendly, warm person. And boy, he can flip that switch and, just become like a rapier. Djimon Hounsou brought so much warmth and sweetness to the character of Sumo. And he's a beloved character in the movie, and I think it's that incredible warmth to his voice and the character design, which is delicious, that people really love. Mel Brooks, as the Shogun, has the only Mel Brooks can deliver the timing and the comedic spin on lines that seem to have been invented for him, and in some cases were invented by him. He is, in my opinion, a national treasure. One of the great privileges of this movie is being able to do something that starts with Mel Brooks. Children who are actors tend to be very uninhibited and will really throw themselves into a role in a much easier way often, in terms of not needing as much information about what the character is that they're playing. They sort of just understand I find on some kind of instinctive level, like what the character is that, and they respond really well to line readings. If you give a kid a line reading, they don't feel uncomfortable with it, and they'll, shoot it right back to you.
Jimbo is a fallen samurai. Jimbo is actually played by Samuel L. Jackson, but Jimbo he's had a terrible tragedy in his life, which has forced him kind of into early retirement, and he's living as a hermit. So he's kind of given up on the world and turned his back on everything because he's a little jaded, a little cynical. Hank the dog is played by Michael Cera, who does an incredible job bringing so much warmth and humanity to this dog character. He's super, gung-ho and earnest. He's sort of up for any challenge. He doesn't really realize his own limitations, of which he has many. So he struggles a lot, in his quest to learn to become a samurai. Chuck and Ichiro are hilarious characters. They're sort of the Abbott and Costello or the Laurel and Hardy of this movie. They're great sort of supporting characters played by Aasif Mandvi and Gabriel Iglesias, who do a fantastic job. Ika Chu is an incredible villain played by the inimitable Ricky Gervais. And if you could imagine Ricky Gervais as a cat, it would be Ika Chu, because he's just as snide and as sarcastic as Ricky Gervais is. The Shogun, who sort of, is the big boss of this world, is played by Mel Brooks. And of course, this movie had to have Mel Brooks in it. Not only is he a producer, but he's playing the Shogun. And of course, there's no business like Shogun business. So Michael Cera was a trooper. He had just moved into a New York apartment, which had no furniture, no rugs, no curtains, only brick walls, which is pretty much the worst surface you could possibly imagine for a recording studio. And he stood in his living room
And it was, it was terrible. There was echoes. It was just not the right kind of environment for recording. And so the best he could do was to get a blanket, or perhaps it was a towel, and put it over his head. And he recorded the whole session that way. And I mean, come on, talk about being a trooper.
Mel Brooks is so kooky, right? He's got this kookiness about him, and it was fun to have him record the voice, because he would basically direct himself. He would just go, okay, I'm gonna read it like this, and he'll read it a couple times, and he goes, I think we're done. I think we got it. Like, okay, we got it. That's great. Anything he does is great. I mean, he's been doing it for so long, but he's a genius. All it has to do with is how people see each other and how they deal with each other. And we're really the same even though we look different. And that's all what we're trying to do in terms of this, this story. Amongst all the comedy and jokes and everything else, at the end, it's basically the same thing. He, of course, was the master, right? And Hank being the student of Viola, it slowly they met each other in the middle, and then Hank brought something more to it than Jimbo would, and that's his heart and soul of, I have to do something because I believe in everybody here, and I believe these people. It's really funny. It's a great film that has lots of action, lots of gags, and there's a lot of heart as well in the characters. And afterwards, it also makes you think about how we treat people, how we treat each other.
It's about this dog who wants to become a samurai because of an incident that happened to him when he was a pup. So he comes to the land of Asia to learn to be a samurai, only to learn it's the land of cats who just soon kill him as let him become a samurai. And I love that because it's like my dog had my dog loves cats. My dog sees cats, he runs into the room, and is like, oh my God, a cat. Oh my God, a cat, hi. He just wants to chase all the cats, but he wants to play. Cats are just, they back up, they hiss, and so that's what Hank runs into. I see Hank as being a college student, going away to the big city for the first time. And he just thinks everyone's going to be nice to him. He thinks everything's going to work out. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. And what's great about Michael is Michael can bring that underdog quality to it in a very positive way. It's like you can't help but like him. Jimbo's a tragic character. Hank comes in with all this naive enthusiasm, and he has his head handed to him, and he's like, oh my God, I'm in over my head. And his only salvation, or his only hope, is this burned out old, samurai, Jimbo, who really has no interest in helping him. So I think the fact that Jimbo helps Hank, become the samurai he wants to be, and in doing that, Jimbo sort of, rediscovers the young, honorable samurai within him. I mean, that's very charming.